Hi, it's Carmel Jane on the Facebook Live, just hanging out. Hopefully, there's going to be a few people join us. I'm a few seconds early, I think. Hopefully, talking all about how to grow your school photography business and how to get it right. It is pretty tough. It's a tough old market, and probably anyone in this business in the UK knows there's some really big players out there, kind of dominating the market. But I know that we started doing schools only 2.5 years ago, and we're up to almost 100 schools. So it can be done without, we can take on some of these bigger companies that have got loads and loads. But we've had a few questions in already. And I'm just going to give it a little bit longer. We've got a few people watching. There is comments button. Just ask me a question if you like. That would be brilliant. So it's been a busy day actually. I've done a conference day doing headshots, and I was speaking at the photography show, which was great, on the wedding and portrait stage. Hi to anyone that saw me when my tether didn't work. Never mind. That seemed to go well. I got some nice comments on it apart from that. And then talking with the GotPhoto gang, which I really love that. They're a really neat bunch of people. So no comments there. We've got a few people watching. So the big one that people just keep asking is, how do you grow your business? How do you actually get more customers with schools? And actually, when I spoke on the wedding and portrait stage, someone came up to me and said, because I did the dance school, and actually said, I'm trying to get dance schools, and I've sent them loads of emails and not had anything back. And the long and short of it is, you actually have to do the hard yards. You have to pick up the phone and you have to go in face to face. I think a lot of the bigger players are really getting their schools from having super amazing and highly commissioned and motivated salespeople going into the schools and charming their way past the woman in the front of the office, or usually it's a woman, and trying to get to the head teacher or the decision maker. So actually remembering that you have to put in loads of effort, but if you get a big school, they're lucrative. They can, or any size school, they're good. So you have to put in the hard yards. But I think if we even go back a stage further, I think you need to have your stuff prepped. You have to have your samples. You have to know what it is you're going to present. Choose your style. I've got a few more people in. Someone write me a comment, ask me a question. It'll be great. When I started out, I kind of had my style of photography that I decided was going to work for me. I know people do things very, very differently, but that's what I decided. I got some really great samples, and then started ringing up schools. I also did, if any of you do local networking, this really worked for me. I've got quite a few schools this way. I was doing networking more for my commercial kind of stuff, and I said, has anyone, got contacts with schools? And they say, I'm on the PTA, or my friend's on the PTA, or my granddaughter got rotten school photos come home. So it's a way of really getting it in by asking your network. And if you are a local photographer, chances are they know you through some of the other things you've done. So that was a really good starting point, is to use the hard yards. Hey Stuart, thanks for commenting. You're my first one. Well done. And it is the hard yards putting it in. So, but I used your contacts, use your original contacts. If you're starting out, get all your ducks lined up, know what you're going to do, get some nice literature, because again, remember, you're competing against the big companies that have really slick looking literature. It doesn't have to be super, super slick, but it has to look pretty pulled together and professional. We've found the schools often are less worried about the quality. Some of them are, not enough, if it was down to me. They're more worried the poor, overworked administration staff are just going, well, can you do this job? Can you make my life easy? And we've been using the same company, and they're a big company, been using them for 5 or 10 years, and it kind of works, and the parents aren't that happy with the photos, but it works. So they really want to know that you can do it. You can look after them. And then they want to know that you can take nice pictures, and some are really motivated by good pictures. And then the other awful thing that a lot of people are super motivated by is commission at some of the schools. And there is, it has been said more than once, that school photography is becoming a little bit of a race to the bottom. We don't give away too much commission. We're 10%, or we match what they got last year on the actual money amount. I think some of these bigger companies, the impression I get, it's always hard to tell, it's a little bit of a secret, isn't it, what's going on, is that they're offering more and more and more. And actually, I think if you're starting out, you can't compete on price with them. You have to compete on service and quality. Hey Jeff, what are the going rates for school dance schools commission that photographers end up paying? What's the most popular products and their prices? Wow, 3 questions at once, Jeff. I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. we've heard of schools getting up to 35% commission, which is just kind of crazy. I mean, we give between 10 and 15% if we have to, if we really want the school. And what we say is we're going to just offer, we go in on quality, we go in on fair prices and say, look, if you offer, our philosophy is if we offer really, really beautiful photos at the same price-ish as the other photographers and really good local service. I mean, I'm going to say we want to be the best photographers in Essex. I'm not going to try and take over the whole country. I don't want to turn over, £50 million or £10 million because I think that's a really, really difficult business to run, and simply there's not enough schools for us all to be doing that. So I think you can actually scale your business up and get a few schools, but it doesn't have to be. We don't have to go completely large. You can still make money having 10 schools, 50 schools, or 80 schools, or 100 schools a year. I mean, I'm aiming for about 200. I think that's manageable alongside our dance schools, and that's as much as I want, because then I get to play tennis 3 times a week when we get to there, which is one of my life goals for doing it. So more schools, get all your stuff together, and do the work and get out there. Another question, what's the most popular products and their prices? We do downloads, and we run pretty consistently at about a 25% downloads. I love downloads. That's one of the great things about the GotPhoto system is you think when someone orders a download, that is just, you pay your GotPhoto fee, maybe your PayPal fee and your VAT, and then the rest is just money. You don't even see the order, it just goes straight into your bank. But we find we're a higher percentage of downloads on dance than we are on schools. I think schools, maybe apart from wedding photography, is the last place people really en masse are buying good quality photos, and they want the prints. And did I speak to someone recently, or maybe it was a school, I can't remember, that these parents were really disappointed because the photos didn't come in mounts, because the parents, they want that cardboard mounted photo. So, and people still want, and I think they want the packages. We don't do crazy packages with bookmarks, and I know some have so many more options in them, but we have pretty simple packages that offer, some parents just want a couple, some want all the different sizes, but we don't offer packages with all the extra stuff to add value, because I'm not sure that people really want that, and we're not set up to do it anyway, so we've chosen what suits us. How do you cope with the poor uptake from using passwords? Well, we have a pretty good uptake. And actually, we're talking about this. We prep the school and say, you've really got to tell the parents. So we ask them to mention it in their newsletter at least once or twice before we arrive. I mean, anyone that's been working in schools know that you get people going, my child wasn't wearing a cardigan. This is the most upsetting thing ever. Or they had some food down their front. And you're thinking, wow, we have about 20 or 30 seconds to photograph each child in a primary school. They come to us. The school wants it done quickly. It's not down to us. So we say to school, if you tell your parents what's going on, then they know, so they can prepare their students. They also tell them that the QR codes are coming home, and then once it's done, we ask them to send out a newsletter, and we do an e-flyer. So we kind of get the schools on board telling them, but we actually have a pretty good uptake. Usually about 80% of people log on, because on the back of our QR code, we've got something designed, which is some pictures of some other kids, and it says, take me home, so to make sure the child knows to take it home. So it works pretty okay. Hi Stuart, you learned about mounts. Yeah, parents want mounts. We did have one school, really weirdly, a really lovely school in Colchester, where lots of them, we had one price list without mounts, and that sold really well, but that usually we have one price without mounts, and it's our least popular package. Sorry, I'm jumping around. So the passwords we found we actually have a reasonable uptake on it, and it's about using the school to, and suggest they put it out on their Twitter or on their newsletter, however they digitally communicate with their parents, but they're not going to give you the email addresses. I was out in the States, there's a big school photography conference out in Vegas, and in the States they get a list of all the parents' emails. I'm like, wow, yep, that's not happening anywhere in the UK or probably in Europe, because obviously they're so protective of any data. So it's all about communication, I think, which just really helps. And prepping the schools. Hey, Stuart, we're on the same wavelength, Stuart. This is good. Here's another question. What's more important, business acumen or an identifiable style of photography? I think that's quite a tough question, actually. I actually think you need to have good business acumen is ultimately it. When we're doing volume, and say I do volume schools, volume dance schools, volume headshots, I'm kind of, I don't know if anyone saw my talk at the photography show, but I said a fast game's a good game. I like efficiency. I like systems. I can tell how fast I'm talking. I like things to be organised like that, and that just suits my personality. So, and you have to be able to, I think a lot of photographers get caught up in the creative, and actually you have to be able to work out your prices. How much am I worth now? How much are my photographers worth now? What's my editing? How much are these prints going to cost me? But all the other bits that are added in as well. So I think business acumen is more important, and then probably, if we see some of the biggest photographers out there doing big volume stuff, that perhaps, it's not about their beautiful, perfect pictures. It's about good marketing. It's about keeping costs low. It's about increasing average customer value. So you do need, if you go, I'm a photographer, I love being creative, probably the volume market isn't for you. You've got to understand, you sort of value quality and enjoy your creativity. But often I've found, back in the day, I photographed 500 weddings. 7 years ago, I said, that's enough, no more weddings for me. And then I did the dance school volume and now schools. And I find a lot of my creativity comes in how I manage staff. I'm designing lighting that I can replicate on the marketing. So it's not just pure. I still do. I have my fun bits. I do some magazine covers and some bits and pieces that still really keep me creative photographically. But a lot of my creativity now comes from running my business, which I really enjoy. So. Any more questions? I've got some more here that people sent in before, but please do feel free to interact with me. It's kind of weird sitting in your front room talking to yourself on the computer, but I can see lots of people are watching, which is brilliant. So what was the biggest challenge when growing your business? And I think if you get into a room full of any kind of entrepreneurs, regardless if it's photography or whatever it is, probably the biggest thing is your staffing. I think looking after your staff is super important, and I've done a whole podcast on this actually. I've got a Carmel Jane Talks Business podcast and radio show, and about employing people. So if you want to grow your business, it might just be that you want to be you, and you want to have a few maybe part-time staff and maybe a bookkeeper or a cleaner or something. But actually, I think when we start doing volume, more often than not, you will need at least a couple of staff. And so planning is super important with your staff so that you know how many you're going to need, and then do a proper thorough recruitment process. And then I totally believe in treating the staff well. So you have to, we have a really great team. People enjoy coming to work. They're super loyal. I've had actually one of my team just about died. She was so ill, and she still went out working the day before she almost went into cardiac arrest. So she's still alive. Hi, Lucy, if you're watching. But that kind of loyalty, and I think so staff is super important when you're starting out, and set the groundwork and have your contracts in place, but then genuinely look after them and employ people that have your same philosophy and want to do things the same way you do. Right, what other questions we got? What's your biggest time investment in growing your business? I think I'm pretty lucky now that I have a good team. So I'm doing lots of meetings. But when I started doing dance schools, I just kind of did everything. I had someone doing my editing, but so I was making the sales calls. So if you're starting out, you have to put the work in. You have to do the legwork and make those phone calls and write the emails and do the marketing. So that takes a lot of time. And then investing time in your staff. I think without great staff, you haven't got a business, especially if you're doing volume and trying to scale it up. So I try and spend at least 3 hours a week doing some kind of training and meetings, and just, if any of the staff have problems, just really encouraging them as well. So investing time in staff, I think, is really, really important. Okay, any more comments? I like it when I get live comments, makes it more fun. Well, what else have we got here? Do you have any advice for dealing with setbacks? Yeah, I think it's about, if you've got a really clear plan, if you say, I've got a 1 year and a 5 year business plan, which does change quite a lot, got to be fair, depending on what's going on. I keep coming up with new ideas, but I've kind of got that goal in mind. And also, I've got a mission statement. Like, I really, really believe in creating beautiful photos that is affordable for everyone and treating my staff well. So they're my kind of guiding principles. We have a duty of care to look after the kids that we photograph, especially if we're photographing, I think, dancers. We do full-length pictures, so we've got to be even more considerate of that. So if you have a really clear who you are and what you want to be, then it keeps you on track with your setbacks. I just think if anyone's not yet in the school game, I'm sure there's school photographers out there. The school mummies are tough. I mean, we've done all these dance schools, and as I say, some things they complain about, you just, and you've done a good job. Sometimes you make a mistake and you admit you've made a mistake and you fix it, and that's fine. But yeah, just kind of, and a lot of parents lack understanding on how difficult it is that we're doing schools. You have to be able to work really, really quickly. So I think that's been tough for me. So even though I haven't actually taken the photos, if anyone criticises my photos, which I don't think is valid, I take that quite personally, even if it was one of my team. So, and setbacks always happen. One of my editors, we're really busy. I've got someone on holiday next week, and she's just had a car accident and broken her foot, and so she can't get into work, so her car's right off. And she's like, you know what, we'll be okay. And if you've got good loyal staff, they kind of help you through it as well. What else have we got? What is your biggest financial investment in growing your business? I've kind of got a few. My first probably really big one was employing a salesperson, and this was when the dance school was just kind of starting out. And I think I was paying someone $22,000 a year plus on commission. And it just seemed like a huge amount of money to pay someone. And it was, what if they couldn't sell? What if they weren't good enough? I used a recruitment consultant and who was brilliant and probably helped me choose someone that I may not have otherwise chosen. And Sarah Butler was my first salesperson. Was amazing. She has gone on to run her own business. She was such a good salesperson. She went off and did different things. So employing a salesperson, when you get to the stage when you've got a few schools and you've done the work yourself and you know you've got a system and you go, I can make this work, paying a salesperson is tough. And my current salesperson is just amazing. She just loves getting out there and she loves being part of the team. And so she's not overselling and she's not really driven by commission. She's driven by doing a really good job. The other big thing is I have a 1,600 square foot barn. So when I signed on the dotted line, I remember I was saying to someone today, actually, my first office was £300 a month. And that seemed like crazy amounts of money. Well, I'm paying considerably more than that now. And that was a big, big decision, kind of signing on the dotted line. But I was super lucky, actually. I'm on a 3-month notice period. So I haven't had to sign up for a 10-year lease. But getting a decent sized premises when you're growing. And then probably the other big expense was when I bought a Nursery mini lab. I think I can't remember what I paid. I bought one 2 years ago, and that was close to £20,000. That was a really, really big expense, but it just changed the game. I used to print stuff out on DMP portable printers, which were fine, but I didn't think the skin tones were that good, and they weren't quick enough. And so now the pictures fly out, and the Nursery mini labs are just great. Great workhorses, but that was another big expense, which seemed crazy money at the time, and now it's like, whew, that was one of the best things I've ever done. So let me have another one. What tools have you used to help you grow your business? GotPhoto. Sorry, that's the obvious one, isn't it? So I was doing all the dance schools, and it's fine. Dance schools are not worried about kids being in separate galleries. It's a lot more chilled out. I had done nurseries. We kind of had a few nurseries, but we'd done it all manually, individual galleries, proof cards, having to get a courier to send the money back or go and drive and pick it up. And it just kind of, we made money on the bigger ones, but they just seemed like so much aggravation. I got the contract for a school. They actually asked me. We already did their dance school side of stuff, and they really liked our photographs. So I went and pitched and said, "This is what we can do for you." And they said, "Great, that's you." And then I went, "Goodness," words to that effect. How on earth am I going to do 1,200 kids, separate galleries? It wasn't GDPR then, but all the child protection and the student ID system, because all the photos have to be renamed with the child's admission number and resized. And then I was at the photography show 3 years ago and bumped into, and saw GotPhoto there and looked at a few different options. And I decided to use GotPhoto because I don't know what other people are using, or if you know much about it, but some of the others have a barcode system, so you have to shoot tethered to a computer. Everyone knows how much I love tethering. It doesn't work at the photography show. So you'd have to have your photographer tethered to a computer, which is more money, more things that can go wrong, and then they have to scan the barcode, and that just seemed like a lot of extra work. So for me, the GotPhoto QR code system, which is fantastic, because it is so easy. The kids don't have to be in order. You can just take that photo, and if anyone hasn't used it, it is just like magic. And actually the button says start the magic, and it does feel pretty magical that within, you know, like a couple of minutes, everything is rearranged and hooked up so that mum can or dad can go online and just see their children. That would be the biggest tool I've used by a long shot, is using GotPhoto. I set up myself in the August. I had an assistant manager at the time. I said, I'm too busy. If you want to do schools, Carmel, you're on your own. Hi to Lydia. She's pretty honest with me, keeps me on the straight and narrow. So I learned all the GotPhoto myself and set it up. I'm not a massive fan of technology, and I'm a bit impatient, but I spent my August holiday, rather than doing lots of lovely things, I kind of set it up and tested everything out, and then went running with it with this first school we had. So it's not that difficult to set up. And if anyone saw me speak at the photography show on a GotPhoto stand, they do have the communication profiles, which is like the automated marketing to remind people to go on. And that's been huge. To really encourage extra sales as well. So, you know, if you're looking at doing volume, you have to have a third-party software solution. What I also really like about GotPhoto is they take the whole GDPR thing very, very seriously. When a few months ago when GDPR was really hot news, we had a couple of parents send crazy emails, just, you know, asking sort of questions. And because we could say with real clarity and conviction that GotPhoto were very, very committed to what they did, that about the GDPR, which was really great. And I know they spent a lot of time on getting all that kind of thing right. So yeah, the best tool I've used is GotPhoto. I cannot recommend them enough. Drop me an email if you want to know any more. I have got a voucher code if anyone wants to know. So Carmel at Carmel Jane, or on my Facebook, would be really cool. So there's other questions. Wendy Griffith, she got all interested, asked loads of questions, but some of them have changed. She said something here, more and more people don't check their emails regularly, preferring to contact via WhatsApp and Facebook. Is that a challenge when adopting this type of online marketing strategy, which GotPhoto does? Yep, times are changing. I'm talking to GotPhoto saying I think they need to do SMS and be able to do WhatsApp, and I think the developers are furiously working on it. But there's still, you know, a lot of parents, I think, you know, they do communicate via email. And as I was saying, I think earlier on in the live, that if you communicate with your parents and tell them that the photos are coming, the QR code is coming home, and there's something really eye-catching on the reverse of it to encourage the parents to go online, that we can overcome this with different ways of communicating. We find this it's more difficult with schools, but with our dance schools, we give them some photos and say, put these online and start generating interest, so that works really well. That obviously it's a little bit more difficult posting pictures of kids on school things. They can get, you know, you really got to be very, very careful about that. Another question from Wendy. This is good. What's the best way of getting a school or nursery to speak with you in the first instance? So, I mean, you can just go and knock on the door. I find nurseries are much, much easier to get than schools. And so if you are starting out, nurseries might be a great place to start, because they aren't nearly as loyal as the other schools. They sort of have less to lose in a way, because, you know, schools do their photos once a year. They need them for their student ID system. It's a much bigger disruption to the school. Whereas nurseries, you know, you're just there and you're part of it. So nurseries is a great way to start with volume. I think it's a really, really good place to start, and then build up to schools. I've got a top tip actually, is advertising, especially around the October half term, saying, you know, were you happy with your school photos? Why don't you come in and we'll reshoot it completely for free? And then they can buy their photos at school photography prices, but you get the mums in and they say, oh, we weren't happy, lots of people weren't happy with the photos. So you kind of know the schools that weren't so good. And then you've got the child there in their school uniform with their school badge. So when you approach the school, you have a picture of a child that they know. And we all know that if you're looking at a picture that's a nice picture, it's a nice picture, but if it's of someone you know, it's 10 times as good as it was. So if the head teacher or the business manager or the decision maker is looking at a picture of a child that they actually know, it's just going to be much more emotive than just looking at nice pictures of other children. So using networks to get in front of schools, especially if you're starting out and you haven't got super slick, super expensive salespeople to get in there, is to use your networks, local networking, ask your neighbours, ask your cousins and your aunts and anyone who's got some kind of school connection, and actually then go out and photograph that child, or bring them to you, makes it easier, and photograph that child. So showing them, it's so much more emotive than just showing a picture of any old kid. And how to get them to speak to you. Oh, another thing we do is we do, a few schools have done, because we do the dance, it's especially easy, their nativity play or their school production or something. So kind of come in and start building up a relationship with people, remembering that the relationship, and be prepared to take a year or two to do it, because in fact, some of these schools are really big contracts. So if you were selling expensive items, in the business to business world, you would nurture contacts and you would look after them and you play the long game. So I think that's very much what we need to do with school photography as well. Another question from Wendy. She asked loads. No one else has asked me a question. Someone asked me a question. Go on, write in the comments. That would be great. What are schools and nurseries really looking for that they don't get at the moment? My experience is schools are all looking for really, really different things. So some are really motivated by commission. We've had some said, don't pay us commission, but can you make the prices as cheap as you can for our students? Some, especially independent schools, just say, we want super quality. You've got to reflect our amazing quality of education that we give. So they're really motivated by quality. But I think they're all motivated, not all, sorry, a lot of motivated by commission and money. But I think it's a dangerous, dangerous game to be playing. I said, I don't know who's watching, but if you're one of the bigger ones, but I just know, I've heard a lot that some of these really big players are just giving away crazy amounts, giving away like 35% commission. But to do that, they've got to keep squeezing all of their other, squeezing their photographers, squeezing their time, squeezing quality, because it's just, I don't think there's any way that whatever money you take, by the time you take off your VAT, that you can actually give 35% and still provide quality. So I can't remember what the question was. So what are they looking for? They're looking for different things, and you've got to decide what it is that you can offer. We offer really beautiful quality and really, really good service. And so I'm not going to be able to grow to 500 schools, 1,000 schools, 2,000 schools, because I don't know that you can do that. I think if you're starting out, really, really look at saying, I'm local, I'm on your doorstep, I can offer you these other things. I'm going to so look after you because, you're using insert whoever it is your big national that you're competing with, insert that and say, there's just no way they can offer the kind of personalised service that that we can. So so I think if I'm assuming there might be some big people out there watching me, but I'm assuming most people watching this on the slightly smaller end, or possibly just complete startups. So I think you've got to say, what can you offer the school, and what do you want to offer the school? What reflects your values? You might really like it super cheap, but say if we look at the people going for volume, someone like Tesco's turns over, 4 billion, just crazy money, billions of pounds, and their profit margin is 2%, and that's how they can make money. But we can't have 2% profit margins. We have to have bigger profit margins, because we're never going to be that big. So we can't compete with the big boys on price. We have to compete on quality or service. Actually, I can't remember who it was, Nice Smiles or Great Pics or something, I've never actually been to say hi. And he does super cool, amazing, completely creative nursery photography. I prefer senior schools, got to say. I prefer, as I get older, I prefer working with older kids. And his USP is really amazing, super high quality nursery photos that are really creative. And that's not what I wanted to do. I'm doing what I feel is right for me. So I think do what you want to do. Okay, any more questions? I think it's been about half an hour. That might be long enough. What else? We've got any more? What is your number one piece of advice to people seeking to grow their school photography business? It's tough, but it's worth it. And probably what I was just saying is decide who you are. Get your business plan, get your mission statement, say this is who we're going to be. And I would say, actually, number one, do not compete on price. You cannot face up to the big boys who have a massive network. who have top salespeople, have big machines that can print even cheaper and have all that in place. You just can't compete on price. Sorry. Oh, look, be awesome today. This is my son's mug. So you can't compete on price. You have to find your USP. You have to find what it is. You have to make it fun, whatever you make it work, but do not compete on price. And by that, I mean as well commission. I don't think, especially if you're starting out, if you're giving 35% commission, it will be no fun whatsoever. Any more questions? How has your business grown over the past few years? It's grown through lots of hard work, a little bit of luck, getting the right staff, which I don't always do. I've employed people on a whim before, hasn't been the best thing we've ever done, and a lot of hard work. I think I was very, very lucky when I got into the dance school side of things that, in fact, there wasn't many people doing it. And, of course, probably any of you have got daughters or in the dance scene, you know it's been a massively growing market in the last few years. So that was probably my little bit of luck to help grow the business. But and I was just motivated by, I won't go into my life story on this one, but yeah, I'd had a few major life setbacks. Things weren't great, and I just decided that I had to make a life for myself, and I did. So a huge amount of hard work is probably the secret to growing your business. I think that might be it. Any more? Hope you've enjoyed it. This has kind of been fun. Yeah, my husband's gone out for the night, so I don't think he wants to sit here and listen to me talk to myself in my room for half an hour, but really fun. I'm a huge fan of GotPhoto, and that's why I wanted to get involved with them, and that's why I'm doing this. But please do send me an email on carmel@carmeljane.co.uk or in the Facebook messages, because I have got a secret voucher code if you're thinking of signing up, which is super good. I also, if you're interested, if you think I've got a few bits to say, I have Carmel Jane Talks Business. It's a Facebook page, and I also do a podcast. My recent one was loads of fun. It was actually a woman who does cream teas, but we talk about business in a pretty broad sense. It is a lot of female entrepreneurs, so if you're a girl out there, go on and listen in. Carmel Jane Talks Business. Please do email or message me if you have any questions, Carmel Jane Photography or Carmel Jane Talks Business or Carmel@Carmel Jane, because I would love, I think part of the reason I've got involved in this, I would love if there was lots of small players, all maybe doing 10 or 20 schools like me. I want to do 100 to 200 and taking on these much bigger players who are just, I think, really competing on price and really cutting out the market, because there is a way in. It doesn't just have to be 5 massive companies running the entire school photography market. We can all take a little piece of the pie and all earn a decent living and be fantastic employers and offer something back. Okay, thank you so much. Ciao for now.